Hey there folks, in this video I'm going to give you a behind the scenes pulling back the curtain aka studio tour of my space here. And the reason we're out here is not because this is MTV Cribs, but because the tech starts right out here. Let me show you. So it starts here with this smart lock, and what this allows me to do is to be able to get into my studio space without having to use a key every time, so I can always keep this place locked. All right, so here it is. This is the studio space here. I'm just going to quickly pan around here and then we'll get into the details of what's involved here. Now, the thing about this studio space is that it's actually a garage. So if you see up here, we're literally in a garage, which makes for some challenges on being able to get this done right. So I'll get into those details here in a second. So beginning here, what you're going to notice straight off is all of the vinyl records. Now, I started DJing back in the early 90s, I think like 92 or something. And there was no Serato. It was all vinyl. So that's where all of these records come from here. And matter of fact, these two hold a special place for me, being those of you that know that of the Lion's Den, and then also our music production crew, the specialist. That's where those two come from there. Basically now I'm using the vinyl as my backdrop, as I do not want to get rid of my vinyl. This is a collection that took many years to put together. One of my biggest requirements for the studio space is that I need it to be efficient. I need it to be a hybrid system, and I also need it to be modular. So you're going to notice that recurring theme all throughout here. And the reason for that is that I don't have a lot of space here. So I really needed to meticulously figure out how to arrange everything so that I can do all the different creative projects that I end up doing. Everything starts here with these black curtains here to be able to black out the background. That way when I'm recording video, the background doesn't become too distracting there. Now this piece here is not only a decorative piece that looks really cool in the background, it's also a humidifier. So you can see that it's doing its thing right now. So it's very useful, not just for recording video, but also to have on while I'm working here in the studio. And then up here, I have this real cool little decorative guy. Light bulb, but he, is playing guitar there, so it's a piece that I really enjoy having here. And then down below here, I have my my controls that I'll get into in a second here. And then everything else is just decorative, so got a 1200 here, and of course the vinyl that I've already explained. Now moving to the top here, you're going to notice this light here, and I use that as a rim light, aka hair light, so that when I'm recording right here in this space, then this light right here hits the back of me, and then it helps separate me from the background. And the background will start from the top down, starting with the ring light up here, and I have that light specifically to be able to light up this surface here, so that when I'm kitting out a camera or working on any electronic projects, this is a surface that I use for that, because right underneath the surface, and we'll get into that here in a second, is all of my tools and testing equipment. So I have that light set up for that purpose there. And then I have these monitors back here that I have hooked up to a mini PC, and then I can put different motion graphics on these monitors here while I'm recording. So I either have them turned off and not have anything going on, or sometimes I'll have some graphics going there. And up on top here is just a little shelf where I'm putting some of the stuff that I really like having around, like the Tapatio guy, the Mandalorian guy there, and a Batman there. Record player and some little records. And then also what you don't see is I have some hooks set up here in the back so that this paper up here, I can put it here, and then now I can use that as a paper backdrop for product photography. So this surface will now become a surface for product photography. And the reason the paper is up here right now is that if I need to take any photos of myself, then I can pull this paper down right here. And we'll get into the lighting here in a second. I have a light fixed right here so I can light myself. And then I can take photos of myself against this backdrop to make it real easy in Photoshop to be able to remove the background for thumbnails. And now moving over to this monitor here, it's another monitor that I have hooked up to this little piece here, and then I just have my logo showing up there while I'm recording. Now on top of this record case here, I have these studio speakers, Mackie HR824s that I use when I really need big sound when I'm working on an audio production that requires it. And then I have this Tascam reel-to-reel that I used to use many moons ago that I don't obviously use anymore, so now I just have here as a decorative piece. Panning around the room, you'll notice these black curtains back there. Everything black there and everything black over here. That helps me create a little bit of depth of field while I'm recording. So it makes it a lot easier to make this room look a lot bigger than what it really is. And now getting into lighting, I have a 6-strip back here that's out of sight, that as soon as I turn it on, then that'll turn on some of the lights that I use for the background. So that automatically turns on my key light, and then I also have 2 RGB panels up here that I can change to any color that I need or want to be able to switch up the background. Now here's what it looks like. There's the 2 RGB panels right there, and then of course my key light, the ring light. That ring light I turn off when I'm recording. And then I also have this lantern light right here that I use, as I explained earlier, when I'm taking photos of myself right here, then this is what lights me up. But at the same time, if I'm doing any work on this surface on the opposite side, then this lantern provides additional lighting for this section right here. In addition to that, I have this light set up, and what that's for is to be able to light this area when I'm recording top-down videos on my desk surface. Now to round out the background, I have 2 Husky tool chests here. And starting with the left side, up here, it's a little messy right now, but this is where I keep a lot of my small pieces that I use when I'm recording. So I've got some batteries over there, got a field monitor there, a trigger here, zoom recorder there, some microfiber cloths. So it's a lot of little things that I'm constantly using, so I need them accessible very quickly. So that's the top drawer there. This drawer has all of my test equipment. So when I do reviews of cables or different electronic products that can be tested electrically, this is where these test pieces of equipment come into play. And so when I provide reviews on electronic items, just know that I'm really putting them through their paces. Moving on to the next drawer. This drawer has all of my cables that I use all the time, everything from USB cables to HDMI cables to adapters to these extension cords here. And the last drawer has all of my soldering equipment and heat gun, shrink tubing, everything that I need for electronic repair is housed in this drawer. Moving on to the next tool chest, the top drawer here is tools. These are all the tools that I frequently use all the time. I have a lot more than this, but these are the ones that I use always. In this drawer, I've got mainly screws. That's what's in this case right there, as well as these 2 here. But I also have some calipers there and a weight scale there, some screw gauges there, and obviously some gloves there. In this drawer, I have everything I need to be able to make network patch cables, which I have some made there, but everything's housed in here. Gloves, those always come in handy. Another little soldering station there, and some more tools down here, and zip ties that I use all the time. And the last drawer has all of my power tools with the bits and everything that I need for them. All right, so far we covered the background all the way up until this point here. There's more going on behind the curtain here, which I'm going to show you now. And the last thing that we're going to cover is the desk here that looks, you know, kind of simple, but there's a lot going on in there. So let me show you what's behind here. So pulling back the curtain, we've got storage as well as a lot of my networking equipment back here. Down here, got my network switch as well as my DVR for my cameras, security cameras that are outside. And then I've got this Mac Mini that runs 24/7, as well as a mini PC back there that also runs 24/7. And then right below here, It's a little difficult to see, but down here I have a NAS that I put together myself. That's going to be a whole video in itself, and we'll cover that later. And then right here we've got some more storage. I've got a little teleprompter here that I use. This guy right there is a gimbal that I use sometimes. And then as far as what's in these drawers here, I'll show you real quick. This bin houses all of my photography accessories, hardware accessories. So everything's here to be able to kit out cameras. And then here I have headphones. We'll get into this in a second. I've got my DJI wireless kit right there. And then I've got all my mobile photography stuff in here. And that's about it for that drawer. And then over here, it's just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I always access. Right here, I've got all of my remote controls that I use all the time. And then down here is more just storage for miscellaneous things, more headphones and things of that sort. Down here, got a MIDI controller there, got more tools here, and that's it for this section. Here I've got all of my tripods and light stands all stacked up in here. Over here I've got all of my light modifiers, and then up on top I've got just miscellaneous stuff, bags and things for my cameras. Moving on to here, I keep all of my photography equipment in one bag. So here I've got a A6600, and then I've got a ZVE10, both with Tamron lenses. And then I also have a 35mm Zeiss, an 85mm Sony, a 55mm Zeiss, and then what I'm filming on is an A7 IV with the Sigma 16mm. I also have a photo box here, so if I need to do one of those product photos where it has an infinity background, I can do that with this guy here. Of course, you gotta have shop towels. And then in these bins right here, I've got a bunch of product that I still need to review. So I've got a lot of videos coming, including these right here. There's more product in those bins as well. And more review products back here. So I got a ton of stuff that I still need to get through. So this year, definitely expect a lot more videos from me on my YouTube channel and on Amazon as well. And these filing cabinets is a cheat code. I got the idea of using these filing cabinets for things that I need to store that I don't use all the time, but nonetheless, I want to store them and have them accessible. So it's a cheat code because you can fit so much in these filing cabinets. So like for instance, this one here, these are all power cables. Yeah, it looks like a mess, I know, but that's because I've been pulling things out of there quite frequently, so it got real messy. So like for instance, in this drawer here, got HDMI cables there, and I got a bunch of clamps right there. So every drawer has different things in them, and it's a cheat code because I can fit so much into these two filing cabinets and get them out of the way. All right, now that we covered my storage space here, let's go ahead and move on to the desk, and that's where all the magic happens. So starting off, we've got two 32-inch Samsung monitors. These are 4K displays, and they're on single monitor arms. I'll show you those arms when I show you the back of this setup. And then we're gonna move from right to left of the desk here. And starting with this speaker right here. These are Edifier monitor speakers. And these things are small, compact, they don't take up a lot of space, but they sound damn good. I really, really love these monitors. I don't use them as reference monitors, but the sound coming out of these, if you can get used to, you know, the inefficiencies of your room, you can really use them as reference monitors. They work really, really well. And then I got this really large felt mat right here, It's something that I found on Etsy, because you won't find these on Amazon. Not ones that are of this size, you won't find them. But I did find it on Etsy, which was very cool, because I needed something to really cover a lot of the space here. That way when I do top-down videos, this now becomes my surface that I use. Moving on to the bottom here, this desk is a sit stand desk. So I can lift this desk all the way up or down. And then I've got this little drawer here where I have, you know, the things that you always need during your work hours, because I also use this station as my work from home area. And then I've got a keyboard tray that pulls out, which allows me to be able to keep my keyboard and mouse here when I need to. Like, say for instance, if I'm streaming and I've got my controller sitting up here, now I can have my keyboard and mouse down here. But while I'm working, I usually put my keyboard and mouse up on the top surface there, but I still have options with this keyboard tray. And now moving on here to the left is my latest addition right here. It's this Stream Deck Plus. This thing is super powerful because you can reprogram it to whatever you need to control on your computer. So I get tactile buttons to be able to use it for whatever I need. Everything as simple as just controlling the volume on my computer, all the way to things like controlling console for my Apollo, to also getting all the tools that I need to be able to edit on Final Cut Pro. Moving a little more to the left here, I've got a CalDigit Thunderbolt 4 hub. It gives me 3 Thunderbolt 4 connections here in the front, and then 4 USB-A 3.2 connections in the back. And then I also have a Satechi hub that gives me a SD card reader there, a USB port here, headphone port there. And then on the back, I get 3 USB 3.2 ports there. And then I also get 3 Thunderbolt ports and a Ethernet port in the back. And then moving on here, this guy I use to be able to charge all my different equipment that charges off of USB. It gives me a readout here, so I know at what speed each device is charging at. So in the front here, you'll see you get 2 USB Type-C ports and 2 USB Type-A ports. And this unit can put out a total of 200 watts. Now on the left side of the desk, I have this little drawer here that houses my Apollo Twin X. And I went with this audio interface because of the real-time processing, which I'll show you here in a second. But basically, I'm able to clean up the vocals coming into this, you know, when I'm recording video, and it's already processed, so I don't have to do any further processing after the fact. And now that brings us to the microphone. This is the Logitech Sona Blue microphone. I love this mic. This microphone competes with the Shure SMB7. It has a really good noise rejection from the sides, and it really concentrates your voice right in the middle here. This microphone has worked great for me. It works really good right out of the box in terms of sound quality, but when you add a little bit of processing into it, man, your vocals can really sound super good. And a little fun fact about this microphone is that I was invited to be part of a review group that got this microphone before it came out to market, to be able to provide Logitech with feedback of the microphone after testing it here in studio. So here's why the Apollo is such an important piece in this setup. Here is my vocal chain here, and with this vocal chain, the audio that gets recorded on my computer ends up being super clean. And what I've got going here is first a de-esser. This guy right here, C-Suite, cuts out the ambience in the room, and you can set how much of the ambience you want to cut out, which is important for me because in this studio space, being that I am in a garage, the acoustics in here are not good at all. And a lot of the outside noise does come in, but using this plugin, it cuts all of that out. I'll give you a sample of how this sounds here in a second. But then moving on down, I've got a Pultec EQ to clean up some of the vocal there, and then I finish it off with an LA2A. So once my vocals go through this chain here, once it gets captured in the computer, all I need to do is just use a limiter to bring the volume up. That's it. Everything else is done. And the best part of all is that the Apollo allows all of this processing to happen in real time, and you don't notice any latency at all. This is the newer quick release plate, model number QRP-1. And really what this is a quick release system for any piece of equipment that takes either a 1/4-20 or a 3/8 mounting screw. Once we dive into the details, you'll see why this is a quick release system rather than just a quick release plate. All right, we're gonna start peeling back the onion here. So these monitors, as I mentioned, they're on single monitor arms, so I can swing these out of the way. And usually what I do is I position them to still be usable like this, but with my camera being right here in the middle, you can't see these monitors, so I can still be able to view everything that I need to on these monitors, but they're out of the shot. So now in this setup here, first of all, I've got my key light here. So when I'm recording here, this is my key light. This arm right here is something that I put together with two different monitor arms. Actually, I think it was two different monitor arms. So I pieced them together onto a monitor pole here. This is a Wally pole, super extended one here. I'll show you that once I show you the back of my whole setup here. But basically with this arm now, I'm able to do my top-down shots using the arm. And then I also equipped it with a tripod head, and I have power for the camera that I use for my overhead, as well as the HDMI cord, so I can get the video into these monitors here to be able to see the top-down shot live. And that brings us to the monitors here. This one's the Atomos Ninja, and this guy is an Avid One. It's a review unit that I'm going to be posting very soon. But the key to these monitors is that I use the exposure tools that are built in so that I can get the exposure looking the way I want it to look from both cameras. Using the small LCD display on the camera, it's a little difficult to manage, especially when you've got multiple cameras recording at the same time. So with these monitors, it makes it a lot easier to be able to make the adjustments that I need to make, and then we're ready to go. So that's pretty much it for the front portion of this setup. Now I'll show you what's going on in the back. I have my desk mounted on these wheels here to make it easy to be able to move this desk around. So now with those wheels, I can easily just pull this over, and now I can show you the back of this unit. Starting from the top here, as I was showing you in the front, this is the overhead arm that I use there. It's attached to this monitor pole here. And then I've got another monitor arm here, shorter one, that holds this panel here that I use as my key light. And as I said, this pole is a long pole, so that gets attached to my desk here. And then I've got another pole, a shorter one, monitor pole here, that has also two arms here. One arm is for my main camera here, and then the second arm that's shorter is for the monitors. So having them on these arms here allows me to position them wherever I need them. As a matter of fact, this overhead one isn't always used as an overhead camera, because I can lower this down to wherever I need it to be able to get a different angle when I'm doing unboxings. So the whole rig is on those two monitor poles there, and then the 32-inch monitors are on these single monitor arms there. So one there and one there. And then here, everything is wired into this whole section here. I've got an M1 Mac Mini here, which is the brains of this entire setup. Everything's plugged in here, and that's where the hubs come into play, because I don't want to keep coming back here to disconnect and connect things onto this Mac Mini. Instead, I have the Thunderbolt connections routed out to the hubs, and everything gets connected on that side, leaving this to stay here, and I don't have to mess with it ever. Now, wire management wise, it may look messy, but that's on purpose because I'm constantly changing things around. So I do zip tie some stuff, but for the most part, I have it to where I can pull wires out whenever I need to rearrange my setup. The whole wiring goes all the way through here, all the way up there to the hubs. So there is quite a bit going on here. And then I have a 6 strip here. As soon as I turn that on, what I have plugged in here is all my recording equipment. So my cameras and now my key light. So now that I turn that switch on, the key light turns on. So that way it's easy just to, you know, turn it off, and then my whole rig, including the monitors and whatever cameras I have hooked up, shut off. Another key piece of equipment that I have in this whole setup is this ATEM unit right here. So I'm gonna go over to the other side to be able to show you a little easier. Now you can get a little bit of a better view of what I got going here. It's an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And this I use to be able to live stream either on Amazon Live or YouTube or Twitch. So basically it's a video switcher with a lot of features built into it. Everything's controlled on my computer, which is why I have the unit down here, because really it's meant so that you have this on your desk and then you have buttons that you can press to be able to switch cameras. But I don't like using it that way because it looks really messy. There's a lot of cables coming out of the back of this thing. And so I have it down here hidden away, and then I use the software to be able to do all the camera switching. I also use my iPad to do camera switching because you can hook it up that way as well. So now that we're down here, I can show you some of the other stuff I got going here. So I've got a power conditioner here that I plug my Apollo Twin into. That way the power is kept clean. And then I've got some outlets here that come in very handy when I'm plugging things in, especially when I'm doing demonstrations on video. And that is it for the bottom of the desk there. One of the other key things that I wanted, being that I want to be able to roll this desk around, was I just wanted one simple tied cable coming out of the desk, and that's what I achieved here. What this has is one power cable and then 2 Ethernet cables, one for the A10 Mini and one for the Mac Mini, and everything's zip tied together. So that's it. That's the only cable coming into the desk. Everything else is self-contained in this section right here. So now that you've seen all the equipment that I have and how it's all wired together, with this setup, I'm able to do video live streaming. I'm able to also record my review videos here. I'm also able to produce music, whether it's making beats or recording vocals on a track, which we're going to get to in a second here. And I'm also able to repair, you know, equipment, electronic equipment, or even put together electronic projects in the back here using all the tools that I have. So it's a hybrid system, it's a modular system, and also very efficient. The thing about me is that I'm the type of person that gets inspired at different moments. So I gotta be able to switch up the setup to be able to do what I want to create at that moment. So that's why it's key for everything in here to be accessible and ready to go in a moment's notice. And aside from using the Apollo with real-time processing, there's another piece that I have that has been a game changer for me for music production and just production in general that revolves around audio. The acoustics in this room, not very good, especially when there's things going on outside. As I mentioned, noise comes in and it gets picked up easily by sensitive audio equipment. So these 2 pieces of equipment that I'm about to show you has been a game changer for me. Check this out. So first of all is the microphone here. This one's made by Steven Slate. This microphone is designed to be extremely flat, but it also comes with software that emulates all of the expensive vintage microphones that are out there. I'll show you the mic locker right now. So basically I can capture any vocalist on this and then cycle through all of the really expensive mics to find one that sounds the best with whoever is on or recording on this microphone. That's a game changer because now All I need is just one microphone here, but I can emulate many other microphones that are very expensive that I would otherwise not purchase because of how pricey they are. Now from the same company are these headphones here. These are the VSX headphones. These things by themselves are very flat, so they're very good for mixing. However, this also comes with virtualization software, and the software emulates a lot of different studio rooms, very prestigious studio rooms, and as well as clubs, boomboxes, headphones, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. But the way they design these headphones, they're using neural technology to be able to basically trick your ear into thinking that you're actually in these studio rooms. So as a reference headphone set, you can literally mix a record, mix and master a record once you get familiar with these headphones and really get professional results. Mike Dean uses these headphones to mix and master a lot of his tracks as of late. So these are tried and true in the industry. So what that means for me in a room like this is I don't have to worry about acoustics, because if I really need to do some critical listening, that's where this comes in. And if I need to capture vocals, that's where this comes in, and then I can use different microphone models to really optimize the vocals coming into this mic. Here's the microphone plugin, and it has all of the different microphone emulations housed right here that you can cycle through. And over time, I actually bought all the microphones emulations that they have because I'm blown away by the quality of this setup. So first of all, Blackbird Studio, if we were to move this into this slot, now you can see the different microphones you can choose from B47, 251. Now, they changed the name slightly because of copyright, but so that would be a U47. So here's a 251, 67, a 12, and a 49. These microphones are modeled after the microphones used at Blackbird Studio. So that's what you're getting here. Now, this bundle here is called Classic Tubes. And in this bundle, you get, again, a 47, the Sony C800, 251, 67, a 12, M7, another C800, 269, a 47 Mark II, 67 Mark II, a 44, 37A, and a 49. So that's Classic Tubes. And then you get into Classic 87. This one has 3 different U87 models. The U87AI, U87 Mark I, U87 Mark II. And this bundle has the Strong Room London. It's a studio that has some really great microphones for recording. It says license not found because I haven't activated this one because I just got it. But this one also has a lot of great emulated microphones in here. Now this plugin is for the headphones. And as I mentioned, it emulates different mixing rooms. So it's as if you're working in these actual rooms here. And being that these professional studios have different sets of monitors, you can switch them here. So you can go near field, midfield, and far field. Now, if I go to browse rooms, these are all the different emulations that are in here. And I'll just show you quickly what you got. You got Yellow Matter Studios. Now, keep in mind, the studio rooms are real studio rooms that are used in the industry. So you got Yellow Matter Studios. Steven Slate has a mix room himself, and that emulates his room. NRG Studios, Zuma Studios, Archon, Sonoma Studio, Mike Dean. This is one of my favorite rooms to use when I'm mixing, is Mike Dean's room. This setup to me sounds the best in terms of the way I like to hear music when I'm mixing. So moving on, we got Howie Weinberg. This is a mastering studio. So when you're ready to master your mix, you can go into this room and do some really fine tuning there. So aside from those studio rooms, you also get emulation of cars. You got Mike Dean's car here, an SUV, and an electric car. That way you can do the car test and not actually have to go into your car to test it out. You got an audiophile room, and you also have a club here. This club, as well as this one over here called Club Indie. That's so you can reference to see what it would sound like, your music would sound like in a club. But more importantly, what you're looking for is to make sure that the low end is either present or not overpowering, so that when your track does play in the club, it will translate well. And then of course, people listen to music on cell phones, so it also has a cell phone emulation. That way you can make sure that your mix translates well on a cell phone. You also have a boombox emulation. And then aside from that, you get these emulations of these really expensive headphones. So you can also check on those headphones as well. And then what's cool about each one of these rooms is that it has an image of the room so that you can kind of visually see the real setup of the studio that they modeled. And here's the last part of the tech of this studio space. Of course, I already showed you the smart lock that I have, but in addition to that, I have a sensor hooked up to this door right here so that I get a push notification as soon as this door is opened, so that I know if somebody's coming in to this studio space. And lastly, I've got my security cameras here so I can quickly see if somebody's walking up while I'm working in here. In addition to that, it's also 24-hour recording, so I'm able to always monitor what's going on around my home here. So there you have it, folks. That is my creative studio space. I hope you draw some inspiration from this and maybe even get some ideas for your own space.